Hey, 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 and goodness to you. It's Sporty King, and I always say goodness because I don't know whether you're watching morning, afternoon, or evening. But isn't it great to have good in front of your salutation? Look, I'm on early if you're getting on with me live and in person. I always, on Wednesdays, I always like to come on early and try to be on at least 5 minutes earlier so that the audience gives time gets time to let you know, hey, Sporty's on live. Because a lot of times, and that's personal preference, a lot of times people say, oh yeah, I want to watch the live broadcast. And it's at 1 o'clock. Then 1 o'clock comes, oh my God, I didn't finish doing this. And not that you're going to miss anything, because you can always go back to the video. But I'd rather come on 5 minutes earlier and let you get the announcement and say, oh yeah, let me close this out so I can get that juicy first word. Because sometimes the juicy first word makes a difference for us all. It starts us off. But anyway, if this is your first time, welcome to Glue Wednesday. And I created Glue Wednesday back in 2017. Back then, I actually did it because so often we hear people say Wednesday is hump day, and I always say because old school rules, and old school, we used to say you work Monday to Friday and the weekends. We didn't have the term flex time, even though it did exist because people have always worked public transportation, hotels, restaurants, etc. But they said hump day because it was the middle of a traditional 5-day week. A work week. Was just seen Monday to Friday. So I say, well, hey, I like to put a little positive twist on stuff. So this is also where I do my shout outs. So yeah, hey, what's going on, Kim? Oh man, Kim, thank you so much for that interview I did with your group. It was either last month or month before last, but also thank you for the years of friendship we've had through our Wall Street Journal experience. And Tina, I'm here, just ran in and ready for my Tina's Missouri. But such great times with working with the young leaders through the National Black MBA Association. See, this is what I get to do on my Wednesday broadcast and say hello. And then, wow, my good brother Warren Sally, who was also, instrumental in helping me become comfortable with doing podcasts or broadcasts as well, because we used to do it in his studio down here in Charlotte. But then he moved. So I now have to do my own, but it was so great having Warren behind the camera, and we would just crack up laughing with the joy. Say hello to Sally for me. Yeah, Sally. Look at how my brain left me that quick. I'll just say your wife until her name comes to my mind, because I used to just love y'all. And thank you, Kim. Yes, yeah, because we did a good job. We got less than 2 minutes for today's message. But Kim, yeah, we did a great job working together, and I appreciate it. And again, thank you, Warren. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. This is where I get to do all my shit. Oh my God. Punch me in the head, and tell your wife to punch me in the head, because she knows I love her and how her name just vanished on me. And then, wow, my good friend from my Laughter Association, Jim Bob, good to see you. Glue is good. Gluten free can be a problem. Annie, by the way, for the Sally, Annie Sally and Warren Sally. So that see, A and W, both ends of the alphabet. We got less than a minute for today's message. Power fist from Bruce in Chicago. Yeah, what's going on? Line up, everybody. Great times to all. Yes, yeah, we had a good. Oh, I wonder if I said that. Now, there's a delay in the tape, Warren. So even though you got Annie's name in there, I said it before I saw the name pop in there. So tell her she don't have to punch me in the face anymore. Roger Carroll, what's going on? That's right. Today is her birthday. Birth date. My mother used to always say you have one birthday. Everything is the anniversary of that. So when I send you your birthday salutation, I put happy birth date anniversary celebration. So welcome, Roger Carroll, to the new 365. And yeah, and hey, it's 1 o'clock. So let's get rolling. With today's message, and I'll come back every now and then to see if y'all say anything in the feed. But so I was explaining that what that Glue Wednesday is all about, and so the last thing I want to say is what I decided to do was look at Wednesday as the middle of a traditional 7-day week, regardless of when you work. And so I decided to take, hump is not a bad word, but I said, let me put a little more positive twist on it. And I said, because hump has the connotations of we need to get over. And I decided Wednesday is the middle of that traditional 7 days that keeps the week beginning and the week end together. And so therefore it's the glue. And that brings me into my favorite pose, and that's the prayerful pose. And that's why the glue is GLUE. God's love undoes everything. Not that it tears things apart, but whatever has been torn apart, it will pull it back together. And so many people that joined me on this broadcast, and I hope that now includes you, whether it's on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, or just spiritual people. And we have just a great time talking about what God has done. Daphne, again, coming in from Chicago. I'm watching presently. Good afternoon, family. Happy Resurrection Week. Yeah, and something I never think about calling it that. Yeah, Palm Sunday started, because next Sunday, Easter Sunday, is also Resurrection Sunday. So we have Resurrection Week. Go on, Daphne, bring something new to us. And see, it always rolls into what I'm going to talk about. So let me first say, let me go right into what our scripture says, and that is, God blesses the people who patiently endure testing. Afterwards, they will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. That's from the book of, not James Brown, but James 1:12. And I'm calling that my guiding scripture today, because every week I like to have a different scripture that guides into the message that we'll be talking about. And here's part of what that message is going to be talking about. The fact that we learn through repetition. See, yet sometimes we forget that. We forget that in the name of progress, and we don't celebrate ourselves. So what I'm going to do is take us on a trip down memory lane today, because I'm going to take us back to July 2020, when we were still making adjustments in the newness of the pandemic, and remind us to celebrate. I went back to my message that I delivered July 2020 to remind us to celebrate. And in the process, what you'll see is that nothing has changed. Nothing has changed, really very little, but I said nothing, and you'll see why has changed about our situation, because the change has been in our attitude adjustment. The change has been in our attitude adjustment. And back then, I talked about asking ourselves questions. Now what I'm going to do is turn some of those questions into confirmations and also reminders, because my topic today is going to be toast of life. Are we toasting our life? Let me see, one shout out just came in. Daphne, send a happy birthday to Roger Carroll. I want to put that up there. Yeah, because see, we've developed a nice little family where people who don't really have never met, but now continue to find a little way to know one another. So that's what we're doing. This trip down memory lane is taking us back to talk about a toast of life. And so what I did is I took the word toast. As you know, I like to make affirmations. Affirmations are acronyms that highlight the word, because they don't just take the letter and put a word to each one, but they define the word. So in this case, I actually just put a word to each letter. So toast of life. So the first thing we want to look at when we toast life is we want to look at our track record. The track record. Are you, and you've heard me say before, trust your track record, laugh at your lack record. See, your lack record says you don't have what it takes to be successful. You're the wrong size, the wrong race, the wrong education, the wrong neighborhood, the wrong background. See, it tells you all these things that you lack. And when you lack those things, and you believe that you lack them, you don't apply yourself to go forward. That's going to come up in the message too. You don't apply yourself to go forward because, I don't have it. And let me tell you, I'm going to give an example from old school, back in the day when you'd read a classified ad if you were looking for a job, and it might say ideal candidate will have, and they list 5 different skills. And so as you're reading 1 through 5, on 1, oh yes, I have that. On 2, yes, oh, I've got that. Then 3, oh no, I don't have that. And then you stop, you self-eliminate instead of reading 4 and 5, which you may have had. And I'm not talking that you don't see them, because we tend to see them, but we will decide, they won't stick. Or even maybe we don't have 3 and 4, but we have 5. And we self-eliminate because we only have 3 out of 5. Words are powerful. The ad says ideal candidate will possess. And so that's their saying. If we could get everything that we wanted, and that still goes for life, y'all. Someone is saying, if I could get everything I wanted, here's what those things are. But guess what? We make attitude adjustments. That's just what we're talking about. I can't get all those five, but hey, 4 out of 5 ain't bad. Because I can either find that that 5 out of 5 can be nurtured, or I might find I didn't really need that 5. I only really needed 4. And then, then we can, and I'm not saying I'm going to change a person, but does that person want to change? And see, so all of that comes into play. So really be conscious of not self-eliminating anything that you want to do. Trust your track record, because your track record says even though you didn't have that, you are still eligible. And let me go on and be a little transparent and let Kim be transparent, though she don't have to be. But Kim knows when we were working together, she didn't have everything that was in the job requirement. She's one of my sales assistants that I hired at the Wall Street Journal. But I said, you know what? She doesn't have all of these things, but I like her spirit, and she's got these things. She didn't, so let's say it was 5. She may have had 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5, whichever. Might have been 1 out of 5. But there was something in her that I saw that said, this is a person that can get to the 5 out of 5, and she did. Okay? And so, but she didn't, and even, whether or not she knew that if she had all 5 of those, I don't know. But she didn't self-eliminate. She said, hey, I'm going to go and interview. And then when she interviewed, boom, her spirit impressed me. And that's what I did. Because I got to tell you, when I was in management, I hired based on spirit. You have to understand, and I think our young people should still understand that these days, even though I have the classified ads the same way. Excuse me. Managers mostly hire based on spirit. Think about what the ads used to say. They used to say, ideal candidate will have, but guess what? They were talking about how you're going to function in the environment that they have. So even though I'm interviewing you, I'm thinking about how you're going to interact with birthday girl Roger Carroll. I'm thinking about how you're going to talk about, her celebrating her birthday. I'm thinking about how you're going to react to Bruce putting up a fist. Instead of him thinking that he's talking about celebrating, you're going to decide he's a revolutionary. And so that's hiring based on the spirit. So now let me get back into what we're talking about with our message. And trusting your track record means, here's what you did since July 2020. You have learned to step up on faith. Because we hear the term step out on faith, but it's step up. And so that's why I say, because fear is F-E-A-R. Faith eventually attracts resources. Haven't you gotten some resources over the last 3 years? Because I'm counting that in from 20 to 22 is almost 20. It seems like 2 years, but it's 3.5, almost 3.5 full years since we've been there. All right. So haven't you attracted some resources? Yeah, it was a little scary when the pandemic first hit, but you've attracted some resources, haven't you? And that means that your track record says you didn't what? You didn't self-eliminate, and you didn't give up on yourself. So you have to continue to trust that. Haven't you had to understand your faith versus a lie? There's a difference. See, don't lie to yourself and say, oh, I'm not going to make it. Your faith says, I'm going to make it. I've got what it takes. You believed in yourself. Have you given yourself credit for how you've believed in yourself through this pandemic? Again, that was a question back in 2020. Now I'm making it a statement for you and an affirmation. You believed in yourself. You've been able to do it. You've been able to do it. That was a question. Will you be able? Now it's a comment. It's a statement. In experiencing your emotions, we had to deal with a lot of anger and frustration over these years. And those can be great motivators. But what we have to do is what we have to do is to be sure to monitor them and then direct them to the right instances, not people. Adjust and aim your anger and frustration at the instance, not the person. And see, in that case, what we have actually learned to do is we're no longer telling one another that we can't get along, because that was one of the first things. Well, we're going to be stuck in the house together. I don't think we can get along. But the key is we have now actually learned to coexist in increments. Sure, you didn't know how long the pandemic was going to be, so you said you didn't know. Oh, we're going to be able to get along for 3 years at this, and as we've heard somebody say, in fact, I know you've heard people, but I can specifically say my ministry brother Shonga Wilson. He sent me a video of his grandmother saying, "Let's not act like COVID is going away. It's not going away, y'all. We're learning to live with it." Same as that's polio, muscular dystrophy, then AS, what I was going to say, STDs, sexually transmitted. All of the diseases are still there. They're still here. We're learning to live with them, and that's what COVID's going to do. So don't just drop what you've been doing. Recognize that you've learned to do what I call live in and coexist in increments. Hey, we made it through a week. We made it through a month. We made it through 5 months. We've now into our 3rd year of the pandemic. Give yourself credit. Celebrate that we've made that. So that's the T. Then the O is for ongoing success. Ongoing success. You have to recognize, aren't you in your life for the duration? Sometimes we forget that. We're in our life for the duration, which is where our patience has to come from. You have to recognize that your 100% has varied over the last 3 years. A lot of time, and I just said this to my military group this past week, and I say it to a lot of people. A lot of people say, well, I give 110%. And I'm like, you only have 100% to give. Haven't you learned that sometimes when all you had strength to muster up was 80%, wasn't it just most important that you gave your full 80? See, that's what you learn, to give 100% of what you have. You won't always be able to give 100% of the same thing, but you have to give 100% of what you have. As Bruce says there on Facebook, step by step, day by day. And I gotta laugh because that just reminded me of the movie. It was called Babes in Toyland, but we used to call it the March of the Wooden Soldiers. But that was Laurel and Hardy used to say, that was a different movie, old movie. They said, step by step, slowly I turn. Okay, flashbacks are good for you, y'all. But anyway, that's what you have to do. You have to learn to live in increments, and you've done it. Have you given yourself credit? Have you given yourself credit to coexist in increments? And then, meanwhile, that's why the ongoing success, giving 80%, giving 100% of your 80. And then, did you forgive yourself when your body reminded that you were human? A lot of people have learned how important it is to get rest. Different meditation things, laughter, yoga. A lot of people have learned different things that they can do to handle their stress. So give yourself, have you forgiven yourself when your body lets you know that you're a human? Because, oh no, I can't do it anymore and I gotta rest. And then don't be mad at yourself that you took time off. And some people have realized that they've worked harder for their company at home than they did at the job. Let me give you an example that may not be super relevant, but guess what? At your job, you took breaks. You went to the bathroom. You ran into somebody in the hall. You had a conversation. You didn't do that at home. See, we started out having this set, vision of I have to be working or I'm cheating my company. No. We had to realign what our home was. We had to recognize that when we went to the kitchen, it was just like going to the cafeteria at our job, and we may run into somebody. So that's what I mean by we forgave ourselves for being human, and we learned not to overwork ourselves because we were at home. That was a big adjustment that we had to make. Did you notice that what you had was a different in pace? And you made it work for you, didn't you? Give yourself credit. See, that's what I'm saying. Give yourself credit. That's why I started out by saying we learn through repetition. This is the same message. But we have to be careful that you don't get so caught up in getting a message that you don't learn how to apply the message. That's why you need to hear it over and over again. A lot of times people will say this with a negative tone, a cliche. Well, if you keep doing the same thing you did, you keep getting the same thing you got. Why does that have to be negative? If you keep doing the same thing you did, you may get something different. Or maybe what you get will finally find a way to where it is necessary. So again, just like not self-eliminating, recognize that you do have to keep doing something over and over. And that's just what God has put in your spirit. Sporty, I need you to do this over and over. I can't give up on me and not do it because of you. See, that's what I'm saying. That's coming up in the message. That you have to learn, you learn, and it's coming up actually in the next one, so I'll go right to it. But I'll tell you what it is. No, I clicked to it. I had to learn to compete with myself. Have you learned to compete with yourself to be better than you were last time? That's what happens. See, sometimes when we were in the job, in the office, we were competing with someone else based on seeing how they work, how they had their desk set up. And we don't have that, and sometimes it can make us feel devalued. But you have to learn to compete with yourself. It's not about other people. It's about you. And so I call that asking questions. That's the T-O, that's the A in toast. When you're toasting yourself, have you asked yourself questions? And you should. We always want to question ourselves. That's what getting better is about. That's why I had coming up to ask your questions, making sure that we compete with ourselves. They say, don't be the smartest person in the room, because you are not alone. You're not alone, but you do have to compete with you. I don't focus on being better than you. I focus on being better than I was yesterday. I focus on my message being stronger each time. Even though this is a repeat message, I've tweaked it some, and because of what I've learned, I say it differently. You may or may not notice it. It depends on whether or not you go back to July and you have this message and you can compare it. I can do the same. I did not. I just went to, my scripture, and I had written it out. And so now I'm just using the message, and I've saw ways to tweak it. And I find different analogies to add to it. That's what you got to do. Repetition. We learn through repetition. So go back, look at what you've done. Trust that track record. What you did got you to where you are. You're not here by accident. Ongoing success. Recognize that you have to continue what you did. Recognize, celebrate what you did, and then continue it, and then continue to ask yourself questions so that you can get better. What can I do to be better with me about myself? See, if you were like your competition, you wouldn't have become an entrepreneur, for instance. Entrepreneurs need to remember that. If you were like your competition, you wouldn't have become an entrepreneur. I say that to say not hating on them, but when you see people talk about, I can teach you how to do such and such, they can teach you how they did it. They will review how they did it. That doesn't mean that you are going to have the same success. So you have to be very careful about who you're choosing to follow, which I'm going to say, choose your messengers carefully. Because you have to ask, why are you feeling the way you are? How are you feeling right now about your progress? And go on and put some of that in the chat so people can read those. How are you feeling right now about your progress over the past 3 years? How are you feeling about yourself? And see that, and when you do that, that's when you have to ask yourself if you inherited someone else's narrative. In other words, did you choose your messengers carefully? So if you chose a messenger who constantly talked about gloom and doom, you may be feeling somewhat defeated. Or you may have decided that I chose this messenger and I chose to turn their message around. And even though they talked about gloom and doom, I talked about glow and delight. Right? So that's the thing. So I hope you still put something in there about how you're feeling right now, about where you are now, and make sure that you're feeling good about yourself. Okay? See, where am I? Because when you choose your messengers carefully, continue to choose your messengers according to quality versus quantity. It's so important to make sure that we choose our messengers according to quality versus quantity. You don't have to have a whole bunch of messengers. And you don't need to listen to every single thing that they say, but what's the quality of what they delivered to you? What Daphne says in terms, she's feeling great and getting better. See, that's how you want to say, Daphne. I'm feel, and I love it how you talked in the third person. She's feeling great and getting better. And so maybe somebody when they read that they read, and Daphne, she's feeling great and getting better. And again, that could be an incremental thing, and that doesn't tell you where she was to start. That does not say that she used to feel bad about herself. I'm constantly feeling better about myself, and I feel I'm great. I've got a very outgoing attitude and high opinion of myself. Some people don't like that. I'm okay. I still feel great and I still continue to work at getting better. So that's why the S in toast is for self-esteem. And self-esteem is SELF. Self-esteem. Self, SELF. Self-esteem. Love's foundation. See, you have to like yourself. That's what self-esteem is. I have to like myself. Once I like myself, now I can offer love to others. So that's why the self-esteem, liking yourself, opens it up and gives you someone who has the value, the quality to share love. I'm not going to love other people if I don't like myself. And the reason I say that like is the cherry on top of the cake, because how often have you said, oh, I don't love me? And versus how often you say, I don't like me. I don't like how I look in this outfit. I don't like how I acted. I don't like what I just went through. There's a lot of times we tell our subconscious what we don't like about ourselves. And that goes back to the comparison. I don't like how I measure up to so and so. See, that's why you've got to like yourself, self-esteem, and now you will love yourself because it's the foundation. You can't really love yourself if you don't like yourself. It takes us back to that track record, the faith. You'll only be lying to yourself if you tell yourself that you love yourself, but you really don't even like you. So is important. And for instance, in terms of what I liked about myself, I'm telling you to put in a thread, but I can tell you, I know that I enjoyed my business. That's one of the things that I found. I enjoyed my business so much more that I became better at sharing it. So again, maybe that gives you a better idea of what you could put in the thread. Even if you're watching the video, by the way, you can still put stuff in the thread because it allows other people to get some encouragement from what you wrote. That's what I believe is sharing has got to be about. It's not just one person's viewpoint, but it's several. And here's something Roger Carroll said. What was the question? I missed something. Oh no, I didn't. Okay. What do you like about what you've done? Relocating has been the most stressful period of my life, and God's love is clearing the path in front of me to keep me grounded. And see, that's important. That the grounded part, I'm starting with the end. The grounded part is important because as we move forward, what we have to do is not get so caught up in feeling that we, like they say, don't think God isn't giving you something based on you being so good. It's His grace and mercy. And you get to move forward when you recognize the path that God has you on. And it's not always a clear path. It's bumpy. Roger Carroll's relocating from Chicago to Charlotte. I did the same thing. And people say, oh man, that was easy. No, it's not easy. I did a lot of planning before I moved to Charlotte. I came down and looked at places. I weighed this versus that in terms of the neighborhoods. There's a lot that goes on. And if you ever, when you're cleaning out your apartment or wherever you live, you think you don't have a lot of stuff until it's time to pack that stuff up. So it's very stressful. Give yourself credit. Roger Carroll, give yourself credit. And anybody who has relocated, it doesn't have to be from state to state, city to city, but one place to another. And also where you relocated in your mindset. But give yourself credit for getting through that stressful period and recognizing that the love of God cleared that path. Because like I said, the path was bumpy, but it had to be cleared out so it could work for you. So that's why finding reasons to like yourself will help you see that all of these questions have been answered. And that's the toast, TOAST, TOAS, the self. Liking yourself is going to make a difference. I know that I enjoyed my business, and repeating this so that I can pick back up where I was. I enjoyed my business, it helps me share it better. But also, my mindset, was and is, in case the business failed, at least I had a good time. See, that's my mindset. I'm sharing what I did. My broadcast didn't have to take off. And my broadcast has never gone viral, and I remember Daphne saying more people need to hear this. I don't get a million viewers. I don't know that I've ever gotten 100. I know I've never gotten 150 to 200 viewers, and and so that's not important to me. I'm having a good time, and I appreciate getting the quality of the people who come on, because that changes what I can offer. When I'm talking about put stuff in the thread and me reading all of that stuff, if it's 1,000 people, I'm not going to be able to do that. So, so I just, in sharing my gift and my blessing and my broadcast and my business, I'm having a ball. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, hey, you know what? This could be my last broadcast, but I had a good time doing it, because I've always been doing what? Competing with myself. See, you keep putting all of the letters back together. They don't have to go synchronicity. They don't have to fall synchronously in order. They have to be there, because it's always about how you put stuff in the mix that makes a difference as well. So I'm always going to be having a good time. And it's so funny because Roger Carroll, you went ahead of, one of the things I said is, it also still in self-esteem, did you take care of yourself? You don't even have to have a big answer to put in that thread. Did you take care of yourself during these last 3 years? And are you still taking care of yourself? And have you taken care of yourself on your whole life? Remember, here's a line that we always tend to hear, right? It's okay to be okay. See, to not be okay. We hear that a lot now as people become more consciously focused on mental health, which goes to what Roger Carroll was saying about how high the stress has been for moving. And so you have to be willing to admit that. But as much as we hear that saying, it's okay to be okay, I decided I wanted to give us the definition of that. And what we're saying by that, you're being honest with yourself and thinking about taking the positive step, which is purposely getting help. That's why it's okay to not be okay. So don't take it for, that's what they're saying. But no, it means that you're being honest with yourself. Hey, I'm not okay right now. And so once you say that, now you are going to be taking, I've got to do something to take better care of myself. And that's the next positive step. I have a friend who I thanked her. We had a conversation, and she was saying, when we finished, she said, blah, 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 my therapist, and I thanked her, for seeing a therapist. Have you ever done that? Thank somebody for seeing a therapist. And so I'm sure nobody had ever, I don't know that anybody ever done that, but that way I can encourage her that it's okay, because maybe it slipped out when she said it, because we were in a fast conversation, and maybe having somebody, I said that I have a therapist. And I said, thank you for having a therapist and for going to therapy. And because I know she said it on our broadcast before, Roger Carroll, thank you for having a therapist. I don't know if she still goes, but she said it before. And that's what we want to do, is thank people for doing what they can to take the positive step. And as Daphne says, I enjoy the intimacy of the small group. Okay, you're talking about whether or not we go viral. Yeah, it does make a difference. And that's why I'm saying, I enjoy it. I did a post, I did an email a couple of months ago about how I'm in my retirement mindset. And people, you retired? It's not different than what I'm doing. When I say retirement, what I'm saying is that I am not consciously pushing hard to market my business right now. Right now, I'm living off of my Social Security. I'm living off my military contract, which I get 1 to 2 assignments a month. And those make it okay for me. I have a low budget. This is why you can't compare yourself to anybody else. I have a bachelor's budget and a low cost of living. So this is why I'm able to do what I do, so that I call it retirement. And therefore, once I speak, because the truth is, whether or not you're marketing your business hard as a speaker, is that your best marketing tool is in referrals. So I have to continue to be good at what I'm doing. I'm not sitting back not doing anything. I'm always getting better. But I get better by also doing what? Sharing messages like this, and then I get to hear what I say. Because you've heard me say before, you got to preach what you practice rather than practicing what you preach. So I preach what I practice, and I get to hear me. Sometimes I say stuff that God put in me to say that I had no intention of saying. So that's just beautiful. So thank you, Daphne. Yeah, keeping the group small, it works fine for me. It works fine. And then Roger Carroll said, Glue Wednesday is one component of my sanity recipe, which includes, thank you, a therapist, exercise, proper diet, and rest. Yes, y'all don't just stop at one spot. Like I said, and I knew Roger Carroll had mentioned that before. Thank you, Roger Carroll, and anybody for getting your therapy. I got to have a great friend in South Carolina who I met through the military, and she finally retired from military, and she now has a therapy business. Angela, shout out to you. But the key is, everybody needs something. You're not in this alone. So, if there's no harm in the stigma of having a therapist, and again, that's why I say it's okay to not be okay. And remember earlier I mentioned anger and frustration can be great motivators. When we first started out in the pandemic, there was a lot of anger and frustration because we called it being locked up in the house. We called it quarantine instead of evolving to where it was quality time. See, all of that stuff, it takes a mindset. So your therapist could be our broadcast. Maybe you don't go to a legitimate, I don't want to say I'm not legitimate, but a trained therapist. What are you doing? That's what choosing your messenger is all about as well. What are you doing to take care of yourself? Because it's all right to be, it's okay to be not okay. It means that you're being honest with yourself. Hey, I'm not okay right now. This is what I need to do. And I think, what do I need to do? That's a positive step. And if it doesn't work, well, what's the next step? You don't give up. You don't self-eliminate. See how it all comes back together? So that's what you want to be doing, because the key is, if you don't do it, then if you're in denial, you won't seek help. See, if you're in denial that you need help, that it's not okay to not be okay, you won't seek help. Nope, I'm fine. No, if you need help, don't be in denial. It's going to hurt you, and you won't seek the help that you need. So and that goes back to how important it is to like yourself. Like yourself enough so that you will seek the help that you need and get that help so that you can help others. So then, because the thing is, what we have to do is, people don't want to go to hospitals for physical therapy. So that triple doubles when it comes to mental assistance, right? But, I remember, I got my knee operation. Everybody knows I got my knee replacement. But you know what? That was a 50-year-old illness. I had torn ligaments and cartilage at 16, and I didn't go to my therapy properly. So at 66, God gave me another chance to work on the same challenge. And this time I focused and did my therapy and went through the pain and dealt with it because I understood. I learned something from that. I wasn't in denial about what I needed to do to get through the therapy. And so that's what I'm saying. So imagine, I didn't want to go to the hospital just for physical therapy. But imagine how if it was about mental illness or mental assistance. Triple double, because I'm not doing that because everybody says that you're crazy. You got to block everybody out because you got to look out for you. You got to take care of yourself and make those adjustments. And so that's why the final T in toast is time. You have to be patient with yourself. Haven't you been? Haven't you been patient with yourself and had a lot of ups and downs? I always say, and this is, I don't know if Warren Sally is still on, but when we did my broadcast that he was behind the camera, was called My Piece of the Puzzle. Because I believe that life is about going from one puzzle to the next. You're either a small, medium, or large piece of every puzzle in your business, social, or family interaction. Yet, no matter what puzzle piece size you see yourself as, without you, the puzzle is incomplete. And that's also why you see my logo, the top line. And it's a puzzle, the two pieces of the heart, because that's what I talk about. Is when you see my memes on my posts, there's a puzzle background. That's what I'm talking about. Is life about going through puzzle? But here's the key about the puzzle. Sometimes you are the middle piece because it's about your life, right? So you're the nucleus. If you're the nucleus of the puzzle in your life, you have to have patience. It takes time. Because when you start out the puzzle, where do you start? You start out with the borders, the guidelines, and you work toward the middle. So once you understand how valuable you are, your patience quotient has to go up. Because you now have to wait for your life to come together. You got a lot of pieces. Think about putting together a puzzle. Then you say, oh, that doesn't go there. It's the same with our lives. So you go back to thinking about that anger and frustration. We had to learn to do different things now that you're working out of the home. Now that you're more closely related to the people who are in your house, more interactive with them. You had to find what didn't work or what works. So that's all part of it. So that's why it's so important to be patient. And in the process of being patient, don't lie to yourself. It takes time. Don't decide, oh man, I should have been done with this by now. No, you shouldn't have. Based on where someone else's progress is. It's based on your progress. So it's important to take your time and be that puzzle piece. Be the nucleus of your life. You have to be the center of your life. You have to bring people in your life and then decide how long they're going to stay. Choosing your messengers carefully. Always remember that God never says, wow. He just says now. See, God is not all that impressed with the things that he does. He just says it's time for this to happen. Okay, now. Now is the time for you to do that. That's why he says it's so important to toast you while you can. Toast you now. Have you been toasting yourself over the past 3 years? Well, if not, toast yourself now. That's what's important. Don't say, wow, I haven't been doing it. That's okay. Toast yourself now. And then I used to always put my little funny twist on words in my email signatures. I always put cheers to the lessons we've learned, and may we continue to root for one another from where we sit. So, so again, it's just a twist. Cheers, CHEERS. But no, we now root for one another, and root has the double meaning where we cheer for one another, but we're rooted in our seats in a lot of instances. But we're still looking forward to being together and helping one another. So it's a choice that we make. It's a choice that we make. So toast yourself. Trust your track record. Look how it connects to your ongoing success. Continue to ask yourself questions and don't forget to answer yourself. This is our trip down memory lane. Continue to ask yourself questions. Don't forget to answer yourself as well. Love yourself, but like yourself is more important so that you can love others and give yourself in a loving manner. And then recognize that it takes time. Be so patient with yourself that you recognize that you make a difference in increments, not in one big swoop. Always remember Glue Wednesday. God's love undoes everything. And I certainly appreciate you for coming on and undoing some of those things with me and this group and our family. So look, God bless you. More importantly, I'll see you next week. As they say, God willing. What would they say? We used to say, if the creek don't rise, if the sun shines in the creek. Okay, I wasn't going to say it now. I can't remember. But hey, thank you. God bless you. What'd you say, Bruce? Powerful message today. Thank you. Thank you. God delivers. God delivers. Allow yourself to be his vessel. Allow yourself to be his vessel and make things work through you so that they'll work for you. And in case, again, I want to repeat one thing, which is repeating, and that is we learn through repetition. So that's why I was very happy. I'm going to look back at some of my past messages because maybe you weren't even here when I delivered that message. And if you were, now it actually sounds different, which is what happened to me. The message sounded a little different to me now that I'm repeating it. And so you can get something new. I've read the Bible 9 times in different ways each time I read it, and I got something new each time. So thank you. God bless you, and have a safe Glue Wednesday, keeping it together. And I hope to see you on Friday for my Gift Friday, and then again next Monday for the Monday Morning Moments. Those are not my interactive sessions. If you want to interact, always come here. Remember, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And I love it when you put your comments in because then I can click them so that the other 2 mediums can see them as well. Over and out. Ciao.